I got to hand it to the national treasure, Vox, voice of the Vikings, that he was able to generate that kind of an excitement for a game in which, as I was watching, as a matter of fact, on those highlights you played from the game, did you dub in crowd noise? Because I didn't hear any when I was watching it on television. I heard zero. I guarantee you 9 out of every 10 season ticket holders just didn't even go to the game or gave their tickets to somebody. Because, you know, in New York, your standards are, at least should be. The Giants have won world championships. You know, we're 2 and what? Yeah, that was but I have to hand it to PA. But PA is a professional. That's the thing. He's poised. Well, he's not always poised. Sometimes he gets a little.
Yeah, I don't know if poised would be the best word to describe him.
Yeah, and I don't know if polished is either.
I don't know if professional would be either.
Wait, hold on. He's unique. Would you say that?
There's nobody. Yeah, he's a snowflake. There's nobody like him.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah.
Or a unibrow.
He's a unique unicorn with a unibrow.
With a unibrow. And do you think the Giants were looking over at our quarterback situation enviously? Going, God, I wish we had J.J. McCarthy. I had no idea. I thought I'd watched Dart once or twice. Well, I think the Kitties played him. And he looked like, I liked his attitude. I mean, he's not very bright. He likes to put his head down and, take on linebackers.
Yes.
He even said, I like the contact. Well, when you're in high school and you're the best athlete in the state, that's one thing. But when you're playing in the National Football League, kid, you can't do that. But, hey, we won.
Well, I don't know if our quarterback stays any healthier than he does. But
no, that's true. Any word yet on the hand injury?
Other than going to take an MRI.
Yeah. Because, hey, the x-ray was negative, I heard, right? They took an x-ray right away. It said negative. Man. Oh, by the way, well done on the montage. Florida, you say.
Florida.
And what's it called? Good feeling?
Good feeling.
Good feeling by Florida. Is it possible Florida might join Snoop Dogg on Christmas Day, or that's not going to happen? I heard there might be some other people, though, that show up. He could be star-studded. He's going to have some assistants. Have they announced? Because I thought I heard somewhere where it's like, it's not just going to be Snoop Dogg. There might be a couple of other bigger names.
It's quite the performance.
Yeah, I've heard there's a couple of other names that might join him on stage, so it could be kind of fun.
Well, now that it's a meaningless game between the Vikings and Lions, they got to figure out a way to get as much eyeballs on it as they can.
I would say that...
Bring in Dre.
I would say there's probably more anticipation for the halftime show than the game itself.
Well, at this point, yeah.
Especially after... You know what's nice, Tennessee? You know how Mark Dunsing... No. What was Dunsing's first name? Brian Dunsing to Mark Rosen was that warm, comfortable sweater.
Yeah.
That Lions loss last night was just... Now we're back to where we label those in Detroit. What was the phrase I came up with? Hold on. I came up with a new phrase for this. Don't go anywhere. Only the Lions. That's an only the Lions loss, because only the Lions lose games in that nature. What is that old cliche when you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, or whatever they say, or snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? We snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. First and goal from the 1 with 22 seconds to go. It's like, it's over. 25 seconds, whatever. It's over. And then it was over all right. And you know what? All the calls were, I think, correct. I think to Slaw on the first and goal from the 1 when they threw a tutty to Amon-Ra St. Brown, that was a pick. Did you see the end of the game? Have you seen the highlights of it?
We were out on our backyard rink at the time.
Have you seen the highlights of it?
I saw the last one where they...
Is there in any world, in any football game in the history of the world where that's not forward progress has been stopped, and they were actually going to give Detroit a touchdown on that? On the last play, they throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown at the goal line. He gets pushed back like 10 yards. He's being pushed back for like 30 seconds. And then he just throws the ball in the air and it goes to Goff, and they called it a touchdown. They said, And his forward progress, and this is coming from a Lions fan who had a vested interest in the game. Well, that was forward progress stopped. They shouldn't even have to use the penalty. The game was just over. They could have just, and it ended on the penalty and that was the right call. Amon-Ra St. Brown pushed off on the defender. So, and then Teslaw had it in his hands. He's made several miracle grabs like that, and he had it in the end zone.
Well, the TD he had yesterday was an unbelievable catch.
And then he had another one at the end of the game where he in that that series right at the end of the game where he had one in his hands and he couldn't hang on to it. So, and then Tenneby, let me say this. What was I going to say? Oh, as a Lions fan, you've grown accustomed to going for it on every fourth down, no matter what. 4th and 1, 4th and 20, and everything in between, right? And after a while, you kind of enjoy it, especially when it's been so successful. Because you'll have fans of other teams saying, boy, you guys could keep doing that. It's going to well, that's what we do. We're not afraid. Here's the when Detroit was sitting on the Steelers' front porch, Pittsburgh was ransacking their house and heading out the back door. That was the only problem. They were waiting on the front porch and no one ever came out the front door because they went out the back door with all the valuables. If they go for a field, their second possession of the game, Pittsburgh's up 3-0. What do? 4th and goal from the 3, they go for it. And they don't get it. Had they kicked the field goal, Tenneby, on that last drive, they'd have been 2 points down instead of 5. They would have won the game. They would have kicked a field goal. And they asked, one of the intrepid reporters asked Campbell that, and he just one-word answered. He said, think you would have just like to have kicked that field goal in that first position? Nope. He said no. And well, yeah, you would have. You wished you would have now. And, you still live by the sword and die by the sword, and I've always enjoyed it. But when your offensive line isn't the offensive line you had the last 2 years, and their percentage of making it on 4th down is dropped dramatically this year. Well, sometimes you got to just say, you know what, it's not working like it used to anymore. I don't have the personnel on the offensive line. I'm playing the third string center. Maybe I should kick the figgy. But you live and learn. And it's another only the Lions kind of a loss. And now, what a game on Christmas Day.
Oh, boy.
What's the Vikings record? Are we 7-8?
Well, yeah, we're only a game under 500 now.
Well, here's the deal. They're going to get that third place schedule, the Vikings, because the Lions are, the Vikings should be careful.
What are the Lions at?
They're 8-7.
We have a chance to get into the third place schedule. Yeah. What are we doing?
I don't know what they're doing. It makes no sense to me. But we'll talk about this. We'll talk about that with the emphasis on the lad and so much more. The coach, is that correct? He's not speaking today. He's waiting till tomorrow.
Yeah, because of the short week, I think. He's just going to speak once.
Yeah, okay. So no coach today. Rosen will join us tomorrow. It's Common and Tenneby. Happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.
And
hockey fans, the IIHF World Junior Championship is set to take over the state of hockey, and we got your tickets to the action all day. Use the Talkback feature in the iHeartRadio app right now to tell us why you want to see Team USA in action. Winners will be selected all day for a pair of tickets to see a Team USA preliminary round game. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword contest.
Couple 13-14 passed. Common Man program. I'm Common. He's 10B. If I told you, Tenneby, that if I wasn't a major market radio talk show host, a gadfly, a social commentator, Radio Romeo, the official, unofficial ambassador to Minnesota Golf, amongst many other job titles, I could have been a psychiatrist, or I guess let's call it a psychologist, I think, because I just received this text message from the 612 that says, hurts, doesn't it? With a bunch of exclamation marks. Oh, wait, hold on. I just lost it again. Check the previous text messages. I told you Detroit's window is shut and sealed tight. Then he's got a bunch of those laughing emojis with the Vikings will finish with a better record. Then he's got a couple of football are those called emojis or what?
Emojis, yeah.
Emoji, and I'm thinking, see, and I texted him back. I said, you should know better. It doesn't hurt. I'm impervious to pain when it comes to sports. It doesn't. See, because, and for him, the reason he sent that is it does bother him when his team, it crushes him.
Well, and his team's probably the Vikings.
Yeah, so it is.
You don't really have you don't really have room to talk.
Vikings will finish with a better record. Yeah, but I don't think that's what he's doing. He's just glad because, I played the bit of cocking off about the kiddies, and it's been a great run for the past few years. And I've enjoyed it. Deuce and I bonded. But we've loved it. We've loved every minute of it. But it doesn't. I just had my birthday Saturday. You didn't. I was waiting for a happy birthday text from you. I'm 6'7", 6'7" now, and I've had the wine, the women, the song. It doesn't matter to me. It's fun. As a matter of fact, I just talked about how I have so many wonderful losses. Barrero talked about this. Did you? You know, on our Toys for Tots broadcast, I stayed afterwards to do a little shopping, right? And they were running the fan on the overheads, right? And I heard Barrero admit, remember when the Cubs went to the World Series and the Red Sox went to the World Series, and I said, be careful what you wish for. Winning the whole thing, right? Because once you win the whole thing, that part of you and that unique feeling that you and only other teams the fan base share is gone. Because the Cubs had won since 45, right? Or maybe they hadn't been to a World Series since 4. Was it they hadn't been to it since 4? That's what I think they lost in 45 to the Tigers and Hal Newhouser. Red Sox hadn't won since like 1918, right? And I said, be careful what you wish for, because you've always got, like, if you're the lovable Cubs fan and you see other Cubs fans with a Cubs hat and you look at each other, you kind of wink and you point at each other and go, maybe next year, right? That's the way it's been as being a Lions fan. And the last one in 57. Even Vikings fans, same thing, don't you? You have something that not a lot of other teams have. You've never won a big game. Not a lot of teams can say that. You haven't been to one since 77. 10 of you's never seen one. And everybody wants one, or they think they want one. But once you win the whole thing, once the Tigers won the World Series and the Pistons won the NBA championship and the Red Wings won a Stanley Cup, I don't care anymore now. Because it's like, well, I've been there, done. It's time to move on. There's other things I want to enjoy and other things that are more important to me now. Right? Like I had to text him too. I said, all I can think about was on Saturday morning, I'm going to be at the first tee at a Posh and Tony Country Club in Palm Springs. Thank you. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, but see, he does let the results of his team. That's why he's coming at me, because people don't understand. When I explain it to people, there are people that just can't do it. They say, I don't know how you're able to do that, because I can't. When my team loses, I am devastated. I'm in a bad mood. I'm pulling for, I talked to say, there's a Clayton, he can't pull for the Bears. I'm all in on the Bears now. It's not that important, and I think I've helped a lot of people with that. I've gotten the text messages and the emails over the years where people say, you helped me get over my silly, childish obsession with sports. Sports is my whole life, just sports. Ted, you've got a family and kids, and they're playing hockey and stuff. You got things that are so much more important than the outcome of. Hey, I say this all the time. How many members of the soon-to-be Big Game World Champion Minnesota Vikings are actually native Minnesotans? I think one, C.J. Ham. And Cashman. That's two.
We had Thielen, but he's on the Steelers.
So there's two guys. The other guys, as soon as that final game is over, they're packing up their bags and they're moving to Beverly. They're out. They don't want to be around here. And when they sign with another club, when they go to free agency, they'll talk about Houston has the best football fans in all the world. Tennessee has the best football fans in all the world. So because a team is based, and I'm not saying you shouldn't root for them. Hell, I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a Lions fan. I root for those teams, but I just don't let I don't let the losses to those teams adversely affect me. I just don't.
Well, you shouldn't, because you had nothing to do with them.
Yeah, nothing to do with it. It's
By the way, peek at the purple.
Here's a text message right here. It says, it's like the first time you try a drug. Once you get that initial high, you'll be forever chasing the dragons. Chasing the dragon. Imagine how the Patriots feel now. After all that success, nothing probably does it for them anymore. Peek at Common Man's what's the word I'm looking for? His conversation. A peek at Common Man's conversation with Jack Morris, brought to you by Affordable Electric. For all of your electrical needs, Affordable-Electric. Affordable-electric.com. And remember, Affordable Electric is shocking affordable. I've told the tale many times at a basketball game. His kid's playing in a travel basketball tournament. So was my boy. Different teams, different grades. But I see Jack. I go, Jack, Dan Cole from KFAN. Yeah, I've heard you before. I said, you ruined it for me. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, 5 minutes after the greatest Game 7 in World Series history that you pitched in, I was on the field slapping you on the back. Any sporting event I watch now just pales in comparison. You've ruined sports for me. And he looked at me, and I'm not making this up to him. He said, I can understand that. It doesn't matter much to me. Plus, now I've got next year to look for. That's what the beauty of being a Vikings fan and a Lions fan. We've still got next year. Bears, they've won one in 85. Packers won one in 2010, and so many more. You got it. I'll help you if you'll just listen to me. It's the way of the world. Let's pause and come back. Common Man's meeting with Jack Morris, brought to you by Affordable-Electric.com. Let's talk a little bit about the Vikings and where we go from here, because there ain't nowhere to go but up, really. We'll talk about that next. Common Man program on the Fan.
Hey, Rubes, it's the holiday season, and Mel Bank is giving one KFAN listener each week $1,000 to pay forward to a charity of their choice. Just head over to KFAN.com, keyword contest, to learn more and enter today. That's KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Vikings win. They beat a couple 13-14 pass. They beat Giants 16-13. I don't know if I would necessarily say the Giants tanked. It's too hard to tell because they're that bad, right? This game really wasn't any different than most of the games they've played this year. And I do believe tanking games can be very difficult, especially players are generally speaking not going to, there's nothing in it for them if they tank, right? They just look bad if they're not trying hard. They open themselves up and become susceptible to injuries, right? If you're tanking it. And then especially if you were a free agent to be, or eventually will be a free agent to be, if you're letting the defensive linemen beat you on plays and crush your quarterback and stop running backs, that's going to be on tape. And it's going to be difficult for your representation to go to Tennessee, the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, and say, well, he was doing that on purpose because we were trying to tank. See, that the team was trying to tank, and they told him not to try very hard. And they'll go, sure he was. Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. But you can still put your team into a position to have a less likely chance to succeed. You play backup players at certain positions. You do a very vanilla offense or a defense. You don't really, the coaching staff doesn't really try to go all out.
I think the way you can take the most is, man, this guy's been playing beat up. Christian Darrisaw, let's shut you down for the season. You don't need to play the rest of the way.
Correct. Josh Metellus, your shoulder's bad. Go ahead, you're out. Who was the other defensive player who came out with a shoulder?
Well, Grenard.
And then Grenard, hey, your shoulder's bad. Why don't you come on out? So, but that was the Giants. It did look like You could just tell it seemed that the players just didn't have a lot of enthusiasm, and I guess I can understand why. But I have a talk back, Tennessee. You ready for this? You have a talk back popped up?
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, Common. You're the cat guy here. Thought I'd call in to just remind listeners what's going through every Lions fan's head at a time like this. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Meoways.
Meoways. There are several teams I can hop on the back. Bears being one of them. The Caleb Williams story is really good. Number one overall pick 2 years ago, 3 years, whatever it was. His rookie year wasn't his rookie year last season?
Yeah.
It
was
was
in year two.
It was abysmal. He was sacked, I think, more times. I don't think he was sacked more than any quarterback in a season than any quarterback in the history of the NFL, but I think he was sacked 60 plus times last year. Made ill-advised throws. The Bears were terrible under Eberflus, and they were a terrible team, terrible city, terrible fan, terrible stadium. Hire a new coach. Ben Johnson comes in, and you know what the Bears did? They went out and got a couple of new offensive linemen, and guess what? Their offensive linemen played every game and played really, really well. Is it Tooney or Thuney? And then Jonah Jackson. Those guys have been really good on the offensive line. The offensive line, the additions on the offensive line for us in free agency, not so much, right? Though the one thing about the Bears, Tenby, are you familiar with The Athletic?
The what?
Athletic is a online sports is your whole life, just sports site where they have really talented writers that cover all the sports across the spectrum, and they're based in all sorts of major metropolitan areas and write those games. A lot of them are Ducky and Bunny. Not all of them, but many of them are Ducky and Bunny. And not only are they Ducky and Bunny, but they try to write as if they were Hemingway, right? They get a little carried away with their prose. But this Bears beat writer for The Athletic writes, talking about the win over Green Bay, which was as exciting, is maybe the best football game I've seen this year. And it said, add this victory to previous, this is his last paragraph, add this victory to previous heart-stopping come-from-behind wins over the Radiators, the Commanders, the Bungles, the Giants, and the Vikings. The victory gives the Bears a commanding advantage in the NFC North, a game and a half ahead of the Packers with 2 weeks remaining. Talk about a team whose greatest strength may indeed just be its belief. Because after the game, they asked the same, right after the game, whoever it was, the sideline reporter for Fox, asking the questions, how did you guys do it? How do you do this? And they always goes, we played at the last second till the final gun. We believe in ourselves, blah, 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 blah. Do you know how they won that game? When Dobbs couldn't recover an onside kick. Or you know what he could have done, Tennessee? He could have just knocked it out of bounds. He was right on the sideline, just swatted out of bounds.
Well, he clearly heard footsteps because he started looking up before the ball even hit his hands. So he just watched the ball.
So he could have recovered it or he could have knocked it out of bounds, either one. That had nothing to do with the Bears' belief system. Had he recovered that with their belief system of won that game, that's such a cliche. And I know writer guy for The Athletic, I'm sure he got goosebumps after he finished his long, rambling story with talk about a team whose greatest strength may indeed just be its belief. And he went, I nailed it. Belief has nothing. All teams believe in themselves, right? They all think they all believe they're going to do something and win football games. Packers believed they were going to win the game. Detroit thought they were going to win the game. The Vikings thought they were going to win the game. Ravens thought they believed they were going to win. It's just like they took advantage of a terrible play by Dobbs, and they played a good football. Tennessee, I don't know, my guess is Saturday night you didn't watch the game.
I watched a decent amount of that.
There were two really good games this week. There was Seattle against the Rams in the Bears and Packers, and you know which one I like better. Well, one reason was because the Packers lost. But that was a defensive game. Frozen tundra, Wrigley Field, the whole thing. That that was a really good game. There were moments of really good offense, but defense was kind of the story in that game. And I just loved the game. I thought it was so much fun. Now, the Seattle game with their brilliant comeback against the Rams, that was really fun too. But I think, didn't Darnold throw for like 350 yards? I think Stafford threw for over 500 yards or just shy of 500. That gets to be if you're a fantasy football person or you like offense, you probably like that game better. I like that Bears game. But it's hard not to like the Bears for me. I mean, I know there are people, and we've talked about this, that if they are one of your rivals in the NFC North, you cannot pull for that club. I was actually, believe it or not, tend to be because of the Lions' path of least resistance would have been the Bears losing that game to Green Bay.
Yes.
That was it. Because if they lost that game, then all Detroit had to do was win their last three and they're in, because their last game of the season was against the Bears, so they would have got in. That was now after the Bears won, they would have had to have the Bears lose to San Francisco, and then the Lions would have to beat them and this and that and the other thing. But I can get behind the Bears. Another team I like Seattle. I like Darnold's story. I know there are Viking fans here that because of what happened to Darnold and the Vikings against Detroit in the last game of the regular season last year, and then what happened against the Rams, they don't like Sam Darnold. They wish nothing but ill will on Sam Darnold. They don't want to see Sam Darnold have any success at all, Mark Rosen. But I like the Darnold story. The way he resurrected his career starting in San Francisco, where he got to go to a big game on the bench, but he was in that quarterback room, and I've already, on numerous occasions, have read you the quotes from his story in which he talked about how much Brock Purdy meant to his career. So that's another good story that I like. There are several stories around. Another one I love, it's hard for me to root for any team based in Texas, but I like the Houston story. That's a team that started the season, I believe, 0-3.
Yeah.
And defense is their calling card. And you know me in defense, so I could get behind the Houston Texans. That's another team that's a lot of fun to watch play football. So there are all sorts of... Another story, there was a time I was tired of the Patriots dynasty. They have no dynasty anymore, right? That dynasty is gone. Mm-hmm. Belichick's gone. Brady's gone. They've fallen on hard times for the past, half a dozen years? 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, 4 or 5, whatever it's been. Now they got the new quarterback. They're playing better.
Now they're getting a new one.
Yeah, I like that.
The coach is a good coach.
Yeah, their coach is good. It's a fun team to watch. Old Man Rivers, now I think it's over for him. I don't think they're going to... They're still hanging by a thread for postseason chances, right? But they're hanging by a thread.
Who's that?
Right? The Colts. With Old Man Rivers.
Yeah, the Colts.
They need a lot of things to go their way. But I can get by.
They have to win tonight.
Yeah.
They're at San Francisco tonight.
I can get behind that team. I'll be pulling for them tonight.
If the Colts win tonight, they have an 11% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, they have a 2% chance of making the playoffs.
Okay. So they're probably not going to be. But I can get behind that team. Tonight, if I watch the game tonight, which is an if, but if I do, I'll be pulling for Old Man Rivers. I think it's a good story. I'm a storyline guy once the teams that I really like to see win, Vikings/Lions. Once they've been eliminated from postseason contention or from postseason play, I like stories of other teams. I'm not living and dying by Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, or Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, or Old Man Rivers in the Indianapolis Colts, or Daniil Hunter and the Houston Texans. But these are teams that I can certainly pull for. I can't root for Green Bay. I'm not a Philadelphia guy either. I think you're with me on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I just can't root for
Can't cheer for them.
Yeah, I can't cheer for them. San Diego.
I feel like there's a lot of teams I don't want to cheer for in the playoffs this year.
San Diego doesn't do a lot for me. I like Matty Stafford and the Rams, too. I still like Matty Stafford. I do. But they won one recently.
I think I'll probably be cheering for Stafford or Darnold.
Yeah, I think
Seahawks or Rams will be in my squad in the NFC.
For me, it's Bears or Seattle. And I'd love to see Darnold in Seattle get to a big game. Mark Craig wrote about it today. Mark Craig writes for the Fish Wrap Factory West Side. He is he does a really good job. And he does something called 5 extra points, where the day after the game in the Fish Wrap Factory on the West Side, 5 things that stick out to him about what happened in each game. And one of them is put everything on the table in 2026. He says, my patience for preaching patience for McCarthy as he develops on the field is gone because he can't be trusted to stay on the field.
Yeah.
I didn't object to the Vikings not re-signing Sam Darnold last spring. Too expensive for a team with too many other holes caused by weak drafting. But I overestimated McCarthy and underestimated Darnold when it comes to durability. Suffering the same kind of pressure and big hits, Darnold has started 33 of 33 games. 18 for the Vikings, in which he went 14-4, 15 for Seattle, which he's gone 12-3. Since the first of McCarthy's massively disappointing total of 4 injuries. The Vikings shouldn't give up on McCarthy, but they would be fools not to bring in someone with experience and, oh yeah, don't forget durability to compete with him for the starting job in 2026. And when Craig was writing that patience stuff, I was with him to a certain extent. Almost felt like, I know he wasn't talking to me, but it felt like it because it's a fine line to how long do you stick with a quarterback before it's time to Fisher. It's the old Fisher cut bait. Eventually, you either have to stick with him and go through thick and thin, or you got to let him go. And I certainly wasn't ready to let him go by the wayside. For me, just found it confounding that they were ready to turn it over to a guy that was coming off major reconstructive knee surgery, hadn't played any meaningful minutes in a National Football League game, a team coming off a 14-3 record that had went out, and it doesn't look like their free agent signings were the right guys, but they went out to rebuild the middle of their offensive line and their defensive line. That is a formula that spells we think we can contend for a big game, and you're doing it with a quarterback that we just laid it all out with the inexperience and injury and all that, and obviously had no mechanics. I thought that was being a little too full of yourselves over that Winter Park, thinking you could pull that thing off. Remember I read the quotes from Gannon when he said it was fool's gold. He goes, and I saved the Gannon quotes. I can pull them up again, and Gannon's not the final word. I get that. None of us are, but Gannon said, he goes, it's too hard to play quarterback in this league. It's really, really hard for really experienced. That's why some of these guys take a long time to figure things out, and that's why you should have patience with McCarthy.
And he was younger than all the other quarterbacks being drafted in that class.
Exactly. And so, look, the last 2 games, and even yesterday, McCarthy looked better. I mean, look, Craig points this out in his 5 extra points. Naylor dropped the ball. Addison dropped the touchdown. I mean, and both were massive plays. The Addison one would have been a touchdown. Exactly.
The Naylor one turned into an interception.
Well, as Craig points out, this is what it says tend to be. Through 8 passes, McCarthy had 4 completions for 45 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 27.6. However, had Addison and Naylor done their jobs, McCarthy would have been 6 for 8 for 75, a tutty, no interceptions, and a 143.2 passer rating. So 2 plays, 2 drops, 2 massive mistakes made the quarterback's numbers appear to be awful. And they were awful when you take away those 2 plays. But that's why I've always thought that statistics and analytics and sabermetrics and all of those things can be overblown. That's why it's when you watch a player in any sport, in any position, what do you see when you watch them play? Do they seem to have a firm grasp of what they're doing? Do they have talent? Do they have confidence? You can some guys just ooze it, right? He's got a ton of confidence. He still has a chance to be a good quarterback.
He's been playing better. He was playing well in the game.
Yes.
But to Craig's point, this isn't just a 1 injury thing anymore.
No.
So you can't go into next season and go, we got our guy. Because he's still going to be limited in experience going into next year, and then on top of that, the durability issue, where it's just his 3rd injury now, 4th injury.
Yeah, he had the knee, the ankle, the concussion, and now the hand. That's 4. He's had 4 injuries, and it's and then you got a guy like Darnold, and again, some of it's just luck. Some guys, I don't even necessarily know if it's injury prone. Mahomes just tore up his knee. Took him a lot longer to get there, but he tore up his knee. Guys, right? I mean, it just happens. Guys have sprained ankles. Guys have concussions. It's so I don't know if it's because he's injured or it's just been a stretch of bad luck. I don't know how bad the hand is. We'll find out. You said they're doing an MRI. Maybe I don't know if he plays this week or not. He might be out for the season. They might just shut him down, and we'll see Max Brosman for 2 weeks. But then, like you say, then he comes back, and we still have very little to go on. Right? There's not much there, and. And we talked about this last week, and we'll talk about it, obviously, as the kids say, ad nauseum as the offseason goes by. But how much money the Vikings have committed for next year's roster, how many of those players they probably really don't want coming back. They need to still rebuild the offensive line, Tenneby. What about Darisaw? I think shutting him down was the best thing to do. But I don't know, is he going to be injury prone? We need help at the center position. There's no question about that. Because Fries will probably never. Is Fries our? No, who's our center? It's Fries, right?
Kelly.
Kelly. And he got another concussion, right? Is that his 6th documented concussion and 3rd this year? He's got to quit.
He does.
God bless him, but he's just got to get. So we need a center. Our guy O'Neal played injured all season long. He toughed it out again yesterday, and he had a bad foot, So this team has all sorts of issues still, like every team in the league does. They all have issues. But, well, if you don't have that quarterback, and so, and that's what's unfortunate about all the injuries is it's limited the amount of playing time to actually cast a judgment on them, right? To say, I think this kid's got it. Because they're all going to have growing pains. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be great plays, a little of everything. Every guy that's been a bust in the NFL have had their moments, right? If you give a guy a year or two, he's going to have some moments where he looks really good, other moments where he looks bad, and then eventually you have to make your decision on whether he's good or whether you think he's your guy or not. But it's unfortunate because you want to have that guy. They've invested a lot of effort and time into this kid, and the jury's still out, to use a Perry Mason cliche. The jury is still out.
Well, the jury's still out, but you clearly can't go into the next season with the same quarterback room you had this season.
Oh, yes, that's absolutely right.
You need to have a better
100%.
Insurance policy, if not even competition for him. Right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you're going to, I guess it's possible, right? I mean, the Wild went out and swung big and got a Quinn Hughes. It's possible you might swing big on a quarterback somewhere, right? Like Joe Burrow, apparently, and there might be some discontent in Cincinnati. I don't know if you want to go the Kyler Murray route or not, if you're ready to move on from JJ. But at the very least, you need to bring in some competition or a very solid insurance policy.
Yep. And I don't know what that insurance policy would be either. Not a lot of good back. The guy that's, what is it? What you talking about, Willis? Is that what that?
Malik Willis?
Yeah, is that what that name? Is that what that catchphrase was from that?
That's from Different Strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about was, how about Willis? Is brilliant too strong of a word? I thought he was spectacular coming off the bench, not expecting to play. He goes in there.
Not the easiest conditions to play in.
No, and with everything that was at stake, he played really well. That's a good backup quarterback to have, man. If he's willing to be. And then you wonder, well, do guys like that want to be backup? Is he happy being a backup now? I mean, he had his opportunities to be the guy, I'm sure, right, over the years, and never did it. That didn't mean he couldn't. Same with Darnold. Darnold had his chance 2 or 3 times to be the guy before he finally became the guy. But, I
mean, Malik Willis basically was an extremely good athlete that was raw from a quarterback position standpoint, and drafted, I think, 2nd round by Tennessee.
Okay.
Not given a ton of chances, but he got some looks as a starter and for a year or two there, and really couldn't pass the football there.
Yeah.
So Green Bay traded for him, and in some moments where he's had to come in spots, he's been all right.
He's been really good. Yeah, he's been pretty darn good. So there you go. Hour number 1 in the books. I'm going to guess on your tees for 534. It's going to have something to do with a winter sports team.
Yeah.
And it's going to have something to do with a winter sports team that's based in St. Paul.
Check.
And it's going to be a question based on what the heck happened. Big game.
Am I that predictable?
Yeah. Well, I think it is the, other than the Vikings, as always on the station.
It's not really a question, though.
Oh.
It's more of a statement.
Oh, and that is?
A local team ate some humble pie yesterday.
We'll do that with 534 next on the Fan.